Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, narrated by Disney, or current Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it. Legends. Today I have for you issues 32 through 36, and then issue 41. Why? Because in every collection I've seen, they put this before the rest of it. So that's why it's like that. But anyway, for these issues, I was thoroughly entertained. I think it's really good, as this entire comic book series has been so far. And I'm really excited to see more. Darth Crate's kind of out of the picture right now because of the previous stuff I've reviewed, the previous issues. So that's just kind of been a thing right now. We're doing a lot with the Galactic Alliance, doing what remains of it, and the Rowan Fell Empire, and then the Empire itself, and the Sith Empire, and what's going on with Cade Skywalker, and other things. So it's an all amalgamation of stuff, all of it not important, because all of it's building upon one another to make the world not seem small. It's a galaxy far, far away, and it's expansive and all that wonderfulness. So pretty good. For non-spoiler wise, issue 32 is basically dealing with the Mon Cal extinction edict that Darth Crate gave earlier on. And so it's dealing with like the camps that the Mon Cal is in, the Mon Cal resistance that is fighting, and the Imperial Knight Sile, whatever his name is, that is helping them. Issue 33, we deal with a Leviathan. Yes, a Leviathan, a Sith Leviathan, and a battle ensues. Issue 34 is the aftermath of the previous big fight during the crossover of the Vector storyline with Cade Skywalker and when Darth Crate went down. We're dealing with the aftermath of that, but from the perspective of our main characters, Cade Skywalker and so forth. Issue 35. The big plot point of that entire issue is Aslan lives. That's all I'll say. Issue 36. Alliance and Fell Empire team up? ? And then lastly, issue 41. Mandos. And that is what I'll say for that. These issues were really good. We're building upon characters you've already seen, like with the Galactic Alliance. I really like the Galactic Alliance leader, who's Duro. I'm still not sure what to make of Rowan Fell. He's definitely an interesting person. I don't know if he's more antagonistic or an ally. I've yet to see that, because his attitude is in such a way to where he very much can be an ally, just kind of prideful, or he could very well be an enemy. I don't know what to make of him yet, so we shall see. Cade, as always, is a wonderfully complex character, and I'm loving his continued, just development, and I'm excited to see where ultimately his story ends. Then we deal with a character from the Rogue Squadron portion of Galactic Alliance, and we find out a bit of his history, which was pretty cool. So that is pretty much it for non-spoiler. If you don't want spoilers, now will be the time to check out, because I'm going to get into just a little bit of what I liked and appreciated about certain aspects of each particular issue here. So I hope you'll join me in that. Alrighty, issue 32. The Mon Cals have fled to the sea because, of course, they had ports on top of their planet, but because of the Empire trying to exterminate all of them, they have fled to the water. Of course, though, the Empire is trying to exterminate them all, but they do have, instead of stormtroopers, they have sea troopers. It's just, basically a stormtrooper, but it has, the kind of gear to where they could go into water and fight the Mon Cal. The Mon Cal camps for what little was shown of it, was pretty messed up. Basically, they don't feed them, they don't clean anything, so they live and breathe and swim in their own filth and disease, and are just trying to let them slowly die out of diseases and death and stuff. And it's really awful. I mean, it's not as awful as real life comparisons to such camps, but it is certainly not very kind. In fact, killing them would probably be a mercy over what they're letting them go through. I don't know what this thing was that was talking to Darth. What was his name? The one that originates from Wong Kao with the little squid face. I forget his name. I should have wrote it down, but I didn't do it. It's with an A though. But there's this other guy who's a scientist who's a part of the One Sith, but isn't like a Force user. He's like this weird face. He's like, his eyes are like sunken. You can't really see his eyes, and I don't know what you call that thing, but it was a cool looking thing. But he talks about how 7,000 years ago, during the 100-year darkness, which I'm sure we'll explore, and I'm excited, because this comic, it seems like once you got to the New Jedi Order stuff, and even, after episode 6, you heard really nothing of Ancient Sith, except for the Jedi Academy trilogy, where we directly have an Ancient Sith, Exar Kun, get mentioned. And then during Legacy of the Force, we had a couple mentions from, when, we're just following Jason and he discusses previous stuff. And then, of course, we had the Paul S. Kemp duology with the character from the Jedi Academy game, where it had literal people that came from around that time period. But we don't really, most of the time we don't really hear it, but this series seems to bring it up a lot. So it makes me just really excited to read those. But it was really interesting, to learn about, hear more about the Leviathans and how those, because they're really weird things. The first time I saw them was in the comic book series Leviathan. I didn't do a review for it, but I did read it. And it was probably one of the coolest moments for Kip, but Kip Duran. But it was still a good moment. And an interesting discussion for what little there was, because of course it's a comic book. And that's what I thought of it. Issue 33. I already knew this because of knowing stuff going into it, but this is officially where they mention in the comic that the Imperial Knights have been around for 3 generations and have been serving the Emperor since the very first one where this got initiated, which is Jagged Fell, which again leads me to believe that, of course, Jaina helped start this initial thing. Of course, there's the conflict of following the Emperor when you shouldn't, because one of the following criteria for becoming Imperial Knight, which I imagine was something that Jag and Jaina worked together, because I imagine Jaina and Jag always stayed together, is that, yes, work for the Emperor, but if the Emperor starts working for the dark side or wherever, that your duty is 2 to the Emperor, but number 1 to the Force. And so if he starts going against... Now, you could be a bit more gray than that than the normal Jedi can, because you can execute his will and do things that Jedi probably wouldn't, as long as it doesn't seem to conflict with what you think is the light side. But the moment it does, you have to exterminate him or convince him otherwise. But it was just... That was the official moment where they mentioned him. Signed is one of the Imperial Knights. He's an older looking guy. I really like him. He's... loyal to the Emperor, of course, but he also does have friends with the Mon Calamari and wants to help them, and I really like that. He also has a really cool beard, kind of reminds me of Rex. Rex has never been one of my favorite clone troopers, but he does kind of, even though I don't consider Rebels my canon, I know it's a Disney canon or whatever, but it just kind of reminded me of that look. Of course, he has hair, though, on his head, so, but yeah, that's really it. He decides to help them, and that's where we get into issue 35, where they have or issue 34, where they have the Leviathan Battle. Or no, is this where we have the Leviathan Battle? Yeah, I'm sorry, this is issue 34, the Leviathan Battle. So first off, we learn that there's Clan Voss, Oh, sorry. The Leviathan Battle is issue 33. I'm so stupid. Sorry about that. Yeah, so he defends his friends. I thought it was later, but I was wrong. So he goes and helps fight the Leviathan. The Leviathan does not get defeated, but the Moncal do manage to escape. And then issue 34, this is where we get back to Cade and everything. We learn about Clan Voss. Now, of course, I've not read the prequel era stuff. The only thing I know about Quinlan Voss is the surfer dude portrayal we got in the Clone Wars TV show, because that's what I watched. Now, I hear, or I've seen from many places online, that almost everyone that knew anything about Quinlan Voss felt that that episode was a gigantic disservice to the character, because I hear he's one of the most interesting characters of the prequels. Also, if you watch episode 1, on Tatooine, there's a single shot where you see him in the background. Just a little note there if you didn't know that. But his descendants live on. So he must have had kids at some point if he didn't already. I don't know anything about him, so... but his descendants live strong in this era. Surprised that none... Maybe they did. Maybe they did have some at Luke's Academy, but I never heard of them. But they're still strong, they're around, and I just thought that was an interesting thing to mention. Cade and Blue and Aslan. Aslan was Cade's first love, and so he very much does not want her to die. Of course, she's completely willing to accept death. Delilah says she's not jealous. I don't know if I believe her. Of course, Zeltrons are supposed to not get jealous, but it's... I like the dynamic. I definitely disagree with what Cade wants to do, which is to keep her alive, especially against her wishes. It'd be one thing if, she was like, oh yeah, I'm willing to live, but she was willing to die, and he denied her that, so. Which directly will fit into stuff that I'll talk about in a second. We learn about Lord Strife, not much, but there's a guy who's in a Bacta tank, and he shoves himself out because he cannot hear Darth Krayt any longer in his mind. And then a new Vader, possibly, but not evil. So no matter what Cade has tried to do with his healing abilities, he cannot heal her, and he wants to continue, but his uncle says, no, you keep tapping into the dark side, you're done. We said we'd help her, so we will. But nothing they do is healing her. But there is one thing that could help her, and that's mechanical stuff, like Vader had to keep himself alive. Of course, they're only willing to do that because Cade lied to them and said, yeah, she wants to live, but that's not true. And so she does get to live and suffer, just like Vader did. But the suit is not what made Vader evil, it was his choices and actions. But the suit was also something that let him live, but he also suffered for it. It was not particularly the ideal way to live life. And so now, Aslan, because of Cade's selfishness, must deal with a similar thing. Issue 35. All it really... There's a big giant street fight that Cade and Sin go do because Cade's angry and just wants to cause some chaos. One of the family members, who is, I guess, Cade's adopted, or not adopted, but like cousin by proxy of his uncle being with this lady. But she's like part of the police force of this like particular planet or whatever, or something like that. She uses a lightsaber though. And I was kind of confused. He just gets pissed. Cade gets pissed off at her and points his shotgun thing at her. And Sin gets in the way, kisses her, puts her to sleep, and then they leave. I get that. I guess the point is just that he's angry and easily agitated, but it just seemed like kind of like, whoa, like why are you going that far? But that's how I felt about that. And then I already mentioned how this is where we find out that Aslan gets to live, but she gets to live in a robot body, like Vader, and she's going to suffer for it. And she decides to leave and head back to the Fel Empire. Issue 36. Tension. That's it. The issue deals with a mission between the Galactic Alliance, what remains of it, basically the new Rebel Alliance at this point, but what remains the Galactic Alliance, and the Fel Empire trying to do a mission together. Though what they're doing, what the Fel Empire group that shows up to help is doing, really makes the Galactic Alliance question who's the enemy and who's the friend here. I mean, they could both be enemies, or one of them could be an ally. And of course, the Duro chief of state goes to have a talk with Emperor Fel. Shows some backbone, which Fel approves of. But yeah, it was just the sort of thing, like, you still see good sides of the Empire, but as of right now, by the end of the issue, they say, like, he says for sure, like, we're definitely not friends. Allies, I guess, right now, but it's kind of weird. But there's just a bunch of tension going on. There's not really too much to get into. I mean, there's a bunch of ships that self-destruct as part of the plan and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the issue. I just don't really know what to talk about in terms of, like, in depth. So that's kind of it. We jump over to issue 41 because that's how my collection went. And we find out about Hondo Carr, who is a Mando turned rebel, part of Rogue Squadron. But during the flashback, first off, we hear name of the new Mandalore, not Boba Fett anymore because he's dead, but Chernin Ordo. Is he a descendant of Candoris? Because I could have sworn Candoris' last name was Ordo from Knights of the Old Republic. I don't know if that is the case, but if so, that's really cool. But basically, the Mandalorians, as always, are putting up a big giant fight against the Empire, or the new Sith Empire, but they're losing because the Empire just has more numbers. And I mean, they're putting up a really good fight because they're Mandalorians, but they don't have as many people as they used to. And so it's only a matter of time. One of the Mandos, Hondo Carr, starts putting on an outfit, a stormtrooper outfit, because he's like, we need to go hide it and destroy them from the inside, or something like that. I don't think it was destroy them from the inside, but he was getting put into he was putting on the stormtrooper outfit. The other Mandalorian refuses to do so, but he points his gun at him because he knows the stormtroopers are coming, so that way they can sell it for sure that he is a stormtrooper. And so his friend gets shot, and he is with the Empire for seemingly a couple years before he finally joins the Galactic Alliance as Rogue Squadron. But that whole scene was really cool. It was only, like a couple pages, but it was really, really good. We get to see a new Hutt in this issue that Hondo, and I forget her name, but I always forget to write it down, but the black girl who's part of Rogue Squadron, who's been pretty cool so far. They don't say her name enough, so I forget. But they're going to talk to him. And he's too smooth. He's really weird because he's not like uber fat. He doesn't have like all those lines on him like Jabba does. He just looks really smooth, and it kind of weirded me out. But Hondo's wife shows up to try to kill him because she thinks that he killed her dad, and so that's a whole thing in the issue. But he finally convinces her not to, and that he didn't do it. And he leaves Rogue Squadron, goes with his wife, and redons some new Mandalorian armor. And that is the last we see of him for now. And that's pretty much it for these particular set of issues. And yeah, I mean, that last one especially, I really like the Mandalorian, so I really enjoyed that. And so yeah, I definitely enjoyed it, and I'm excited for. We're getting closer to the end, so I'm kind of upset about that. I mean, I know there's Legacy 2, but I know it won't be like this, and it won't have Cade, and it won't have Crate, and it won't have all these interesting new characters. But it has been a ride, and I'm excited to see how it all concludes. So I hope you'll join me in the next video where we continue the Legacy Comics series. Until next time, may the Force be with you.